Years ago, it seemed like Edouard Mendy's career was over before it even began, by the age of 23 no less. But fast forward to today, and even though he's out playing in the Saudi Pro League, he can still call himself a UEFA Champions League winner.
The kings of the King's Road are now the kings of European football, Chelsea.
So how did this incredible turnaround happen? Well, to understand that, we need to rewind a bit. You see, at just 7 years old, Mendy joined the academy at Le Havre, the same academy that produced stars like Pogba, Payet and Mahrez. Imagine the potential, the excitement. But at 13, reality came crashing down. Another kid took his spot as a top goalkeeper, and it hit him hard, really hard. Fast forward to 19, and he was playing in France's 4th division at Cherbourg. Not exactly the dream career he imagined. In his first season, Cherbourg got promoted, but here's the kicker, he didn't play a single game. Over the next 2 seasons, things didn't improve much. By the time Cherbourg got relegated to the 4th division, it seemed like his career was heading nowhere. This was supposed to be his chance to shine, but even when he got more game time, it didn't matter. At the end of the season, his contract wasn't renewed. Just like that, he was out. At only 22, his professional career was already in shambles, and it didn't stop there. His agent disappeared.
This agent at the end completely killed me because he didn't find me a club, so I just stayed without anything for a year.
He was left to figure things out on his own. Desperate for a shot, Mendy tried everything. He even travelled to England, hoping for a trial with a League One club. But no one wanted him. He had to move back in with his parents, and with a baby on the way, the pressure was unbearable. He started thinking, maybe it's time to give up. It was a dark time. Mendy was living off unemployment benefits, unsure of what his future looked like. At one point, a friend offered him a job at a clothing store, and he almost took it. His dream of being a professional footballer? That was starting to feel like a fantasy. When he turned 23, Mendy tried to break through. He came back to England multiple times, chasing trials with League One teams. Each time, the answer was the same: no. No clubs in England or France believed in him. And then, out of nowhere, came a glimmer of hope. Marseille was looking for a 4th choice goalkeeper. Yes, 4th choice. It wasn't glamorous, but it was an opportunity. A phone call with their academy goalkeeping coach, Dominique Bernatovic, changed everything. Mendy's former teammate, Ted Lavey, had recommended him, and the timing couldn't have been better. Motivated by his family and the sheer desire to prove himself, Mendy gave it everything. And you know what? The coaches couldn't believe their eyes. From the very first training session, Bernatovic knew Mendy was special. He was talented, resilient, and so hungry to succeed. They let him train with the first team, and even the pros were stunned. How had this guy not been picked up by a club? Marseille decided to take a chance. At 24, Mendy finally signed his first professional contract.
So this time it was a bit the rush. I had to make a decision quickly, or to make a last push to try to achieve my dream.
Sure, he started with the reserve team during the 2015-16 season, but it was his shot. He grabbed that opportunity with both hands, using it to get his career back on track. But Mendy wasn't satisfied. He wanted to play regularly. With Bernatovic's help, he found a new agent who helped him move to League Two. At 25, Mendy joined Rennes in 2016. Things didn't start off easy for him, far from it. He barely played and was even sent down to the reserve team. It looked like his career might stall before it even started. But then everything changed. A new manager arrived, and with that came a lifeline. Finally, a chance. And if that wasn't enough, luck decided to play its part too. In the very first game of the season, the starting goalkeeper, Johan Carrasso, got sent off just 5 minutes into the match. 5 minutes! Suddenly, Mendy was thrown into the spotlight. This was his moment to shine, and boy did he seize it. He was unstoppable. Game after game he proved his worth. Mendy racked up 18 clean sheets in just 34 matches. 18! The defense, led by this 6'4" giant with lightning-quick reflexes, became a fortress. They conceded just 24 goals all season, the fewest in the league. He wasn't just a part of the team, he was the game changer, the difference maker who helped them clinch the title and earn promotion to Liga. Hang on a second, just in case you haven't subscribed to Football Historia yet, just hit that button down below so you never miss any of the action. But the next season, Mendy wasn't just some backup goalie. No, he was Rennes' undisputed number one, and his rise didn't stop there. He played a massive role in helping them dominate League 2, eventually winning the title in 2017-18. But here's the thing, he didn't just thrive in the second division, he made the leap to Liga like it was nothing. Rennes finished 8th in the 2018-19 season, punching well above their weight, and Mendy was a huge reason why. His incredible shot stopping, dominance in the air, and leadership made him a standout. He kept 14 clean sheets, third best in the entire league. He wasn't just good, he was one of the best goalkeepers in France. After helping Rennes transform from a struggling team to a force to be reckoned with, bigger clubs started to take notice. Rennes, impressed by his performances, were ready to break the bank. They splashed $6 million to bring him in. He burst onto the scene at Rennes in the 1920 season and made an immediate statement. Picture this, just back from a broken finger, he steps into his very first game and saves a penalty to secure a clean sheet and a 2-0 win. Talk about a dream debut. And that wasn't just luck. Mendy went on to concede only 24 goals that entire season. And let that sink in. Even PSG, with their superstar defense of Buffon, Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, and Kimpembe, couldn't match that record. Rennes didn't have the firepower PSG had, but thanks to Mendy's heroics, they finished third in Liga and qualified for the Champions League. It was obvious, Mendy was the backbone of that team, a total wall in goal. But weirdly enough, no one seemed to be talking about him. He was already 28 years old, and many would have thought his time to make it big had passed. Little did they know, his best was yet to come. Meanwhile, over in England, Chelsea were in trouble. Kepa Arrizabalaga, the record-breaking goalkeeper, was struggling, and not just a little bit. He was a disaster. Imagine this, he'd conceded 11 goals from the last 16 shots he faced. That's the kind of stat that gets people talking, and not in a good way. Fans were fed up, and Chelsea knew they had to find a replacement fast. Enter Petr Cech. Yes, that Petr Cech, Chelsea's legendary goalkeeper. He personally recommended Mendy to the club. Rennes didn't want to let him go, but how could they stand in his way? A chance to play for Chelsea doesn't come around every day. Even Rennes' coach, Julien Stéphan, couldn't hide his pride in Mendy. Sure, losing him was tough, but he knew this was Mendy's moment. And what a journey it had been. Just 6 years earlier, Mendy was relying on government benefits, wondering if his football career would ever take off. If someone had told him back then that he'd be earning millions and playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, he wouldn't have believed it.
Chelsea have agreed to a deal to bring in Rennes goalkeeper Edouard Mendy. This is an interesting situation given that Kepa had that costly error last week against Liverpool. We've also seen...
For just €24 million, Mendy made the move to Stamford Bridge, a bargain considering how badly Chelsea needed him. When Mendy arrived at Chelsea, he didn't just fit in, he owned that role. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch, he looked like a superstar. Now, when Mendy arrived at Stamford Bridge, he hit the ground running. From day one, he looked like he was born to play in the Premier League. Imagine this, 5 clean sheets in a row. His debut against Crystal Palace ended in a commanding 4-0 win, and he followed it up with another flawless performance in a 3-0 victory over his former club Rennes in the Champions League. By December, Chelsea's defense was impenetrable. Only 5 goals conceded in all competitions and not a single defeat. Mendy was the rock holding it all together. His impact? Unreal. But then came a rough patch. Chelsea started slipping, letting in 12 goals across 8 games. The struggles were real, and it eventually cost Frank Lampard his job. In came Thomas Tuchel, and everything changed.
Well, we are expecting Thomas Tuchel to be announced officially as the new Chelsea manager any minute now.
With Tuchel calling the shots, Mendy found his groove again. Suddenly, Chelsea's defense was airtight and Mendy was back to being unbeatable. In his next 11 games, Chelsea conceded just 1 goal. And the highlight? Knocking out Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. Sure, Porto scored a stunning bicycle kick in the second leg, but Mendy held firm, and Chelsea marched on to the semis. Then came Real Madrid, a true test. Mendy was unbelievable. he pulled off jaw-dropping saves, including one to deny Karim Benzema.
Toni Kroos and then Benzema took over. A fine save from Mendy.
That save alone was worth a highlight reel. Chelsea took care of business, winning the second leg 2-0 to book their spot in the Champions League final against Manchester City. But the drama wasn't over. Just before the final, disaster struck. Mendy injured his ribs. Panic set in. Could Chelsea face the best team in Europe without their star goalkeeper? Mendy wasn't having it. He pushed through the pain, recovered, and suited up for the biggest game of his career. Think about this. Just 2 years earlier, he was playing in France's second division. Now he was leading Chelsea into a Champions League final. City threw everything at Chelsea, dominating possession and piling on the pressure. But Mendy and the defense stood tall. Nothing was getting past him. Then Kai Havertz scored the decisive goal.
Хаверс его выход, пробрасывает мимо Хаверс! Вау! А дальше Хаверс делает то, что не делал до него.
And just like that, Chelsea were champions of Europe. Mendy's Champions League campaign? Legendary. 9 clean sheets in 12 games, over 18 hours of football, and he only conceded 4 goals. And he wasn't done yet. At the start of the next season, he helped Chelsea win the UEFA Super Cup. By November, the football world was buzzing. Mendy wasn't just good, he was one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. And that Champions League triumph? It was historic. He became the first African goalkeeper to lift the trophy and tied the record for the most clean sheets in a single Champions League season with 9, joining icons like Santiago Canizares and Keylor Navas. Mendy's performances at Chelsea had fans on the edge of their seats, and everyone couldn't wait to see him shine for Senegal in the African Cup of Nations. But here's the twist. Back in the mid-2010s, no one really knew which country he played for. Born in France to a father from Guinea-Bissau and a mother from Senegal, Mendy had 3 options. In 2016, Guinea-Bissau invited him to play in a couple of friendlies, and he said yes. Not because he was fully committed to their team, but because his father was seriously ill, and Mendy wanted to honour him. Fast forward to the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations, and both Guinea-Bissau and Senegal were knocking on his door. In the end, Mendy went with his heart and chose Senegal, proudly calling it his mother's home country. And wow, what a choice that turned out to be. Senegal had a rock-solid defence, with Kalidou Koulibaly from Napoli and Abdou Diallo from PSG. Up front, they had Sadio Mane, one of the deadliest attackers in the world. With Mendy in goal, they became an unstoppable force. The moment of glory came at the Africa Cup of Nations final in Cameroon. Senegal faced Egypt, and after a tense game, it all came down to penalties. This is where legends are made, and Mendy delivered.
Up against Mendy. Lachine saved! Saved! No.
He saved a crucial penalty, helping Senegal lift their first ever AFCON trophy. But here's where things get frustrating. When the Ballon d'Or shortlist was announced, Mendy's name was nowhere to be found. And to make matters worse, he lost the Yashin Trophy to Donnarumma. Fans were outraged, and honestly, they had every right to be. Mendy didn't stay quiet about it. In an interview, he asked a simple but powerful question. If he'd played for France, would anyone be questioning his place among the best? It hit hard because he was absolutely right. Thankfully, FIFA eventually recognised his brilliance and gave him the Goalkeeper of the Year award, with UEFA following suit. But football isn't always fair, is it? The next season, things started to go downhill. Mendy's once rock-solid confidence started to crack. Mistakes crept in, bad passes, poor decisions, and penalties given away. Kepa Arrizabalaga started taking his place in goal. Then came the injuries. A shoulder problem kept him out for weeks, and to make things worse, Chelsea as a team was falling apart. Managers were being sacked left and right, results were disastrous, and the entire club felt like it was spiralling. In the middle of all this chaos, Chelsea offered Mendy a 6-year contract extension, but the terms felt insulting. After everything he'd done for the club, it just didn't feel right, so Mendy stood his ground and said no. In the end, he made a fresh start. Mendy signed a 3-year deal with Al Ahly, with the Saudi club paying Chelsea £16 million for him. Chelsea then made a big move by bringing in Robert Sanchez from Brighton.
Some breaking news for you now, and Chelsea have agreed a £25 million deal with Brighton to sign goalkeeper Rob Sanchez.
Now, when they signed him from Brighton for £25 million, it felt like a solid move. The guy had an impressive season with Brighton. He was commanding, reliable, had sharp reflexes. It all made sense. But here's the thing about football. What looks great on paper doesn't always play out perfectly on the pitch. At first, Sanchez did okay. He made some solid saves, looked dependable between the sticks, and you could see why Chelsea brought him in. But modern football isn't just about stopping shots anymore. Goalkeepers now need to be playmakers, calm under pressure, precise with their passes, ready to build from the back. And, well, that's where Sanchez started to struggle. There were moments when he'd make a risky pass or even gift-wrap the ball for an opposing striker. It was nail-biting stuff, and not in a good way. Then, to make matters worse, Sanchez picked up an injury. Enter Edouard Mendy. Now, Petrovic didn't just fill in, he absolutely owned that role. Calm, confident, and with some massive saves under his belt, he made it really hard for anyone to argue he shouldn't keep the starting spot. Even when Sanchez was fit again, Petrovic stayed between the posts. But just when it felt like the dust had settled, another curveball hit. With Enzo Maresca coming in as the new manager, Petrovic was suddenly loaned out, and Sanchez was back in the spotlight as Chelsea's number one. To be fair to Sanchez, he's improved. He looks a little more composed with the ball at his feet, still a bit shaky at times, but better. And when it comes to shot stopping, he's been a wall. Remember that Nottingham Forest game? 8 crucial saves. All those back-to-back matches against Bournemouth and West Ham. 14 saves across 2 games. That's unreal. Those performances reminded everyone why Chelsea trusted him in the first place. Sure, he's not perfect, but in those clutch moments, he's been exactly what Chelsea needed. And what about Edouard Mendy? Well, he's now reportedly earning £9.5 million a year. After everything he's been through, the ups, the downs, the fight to prove himself, it's hard not to feel happy for him. He worked for it, he earned it, and now he's getting the rewards he deserves. It's safe to say the move to Chelsea turned Mendy's career around, just like it did for this former English wonderkid. At Chelsea now, Sancho seems to be rediscovering his form. Want to find out why he's unstoppable? Well, it's all in the next video.